What's going on, everybody? My name is Greg Peters with the Car Passion Channel, and today is actually a continuation of yesterday's video. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, you might want to check it out real quick because this one is going to make a lot more sense to you. Now, second of all, while I still have everyone's attention and you haven't clicked off yet due to boredom, I want you to know that this video is not intended to go against Miata as a company at all. It's simply to bring light to a situation that I've been dealing with on my own Miata for over a year now, and basically how I've had this Miata assembled and running, in any form since 2017, and I haven't posted any footage of the car doing what I built it to do, no track events or anything like that. And I'm also making this video to reach out to any sort of person or shop that is a driveline expert, particularly if you're more familiar with the BMW stuff. And most importantly of all, I'm making this video to remind you guys that no matter what my relationship with the company is, I want you to know that I'm always going to bring you my honest opinion, and I'm never going to try to just sell you something because I'm working with a company or anything like that. I want you to know that what I run on my car is what I truly believe in, and I really have built my Miata exactly how I wanted to. Yes, I've worked with some companies along the way, but that's because I went out and chased them because I wanted their parts, and I want to experience those parts, and if I like them, I'm going to recommend them to you. So that is what my channel is all about here. Now, I'm sure there will be some valuable and informative replies and also possibly some incorrect assumptions in the comments section of this video, so I will be very active in answering anything that I think warrants attention. So in short, ever since the installation of the Miata BMW transmission swap, my car has had a pretty severe driveline vibration. When I first put the kit in, the vibration would come on around 40 miles per hour, and by 60 the car felt like it was just gonna rip apart. Now, over the last year, the problem has improved significantly through a ton of troubleshooting to the point that I can daily drive the car fine now, and it feels great up to 60 to 65 miles per hour, but above 85 it gets again pretty severe. Now, obviously I have not wanted to track the car with this situation occurring because it just does not feel very good to drive at all. It's not how a car should drive, and I'm also afraid that at those higher speeds I might be doing some kind of damage to the bearings and basically everything attached to whatever it is that's vibrating. Now, I don't know if I'm exactly going to word this right, but the problem itself is bigger than Miata. The issue that myself and several others are having with this kit can't really be directed at them as a company because their swap kit is just a basic formula for any transmission swap kit. You take a make and model of transmission that's stronger than what was in the car, you adapt it to your engine, and you have a custom drive shaft that connects that to your differential, and it just works. The only thing that I can kind of fault Miata on is for not testing this setup in more different cars before making this kit available for purchase, which might have brought this problem to light a little bit earlier in the game and might have aided them in coming up with a solution in their original kit to avoid this mess. And in their defense, all of the cars that they did the development on for this kit do not have what seems to be a problem in my car and some other people's cars. Some of the cars turn out fine, butter smooth, no problem at all, and some have this vibration that we have yet to really solve. Now, Miata and I have been working extensively for the past year to try to figure out a solution for this problem. We've got well over 300 emails between us, many of them long technical emails that have been exchanged during this time. Obviously, Miata wants to solve this problem because they want to have a perfect kit that they can offer to their customers, and I really want to solve it as well because, number one, the kit is already in my car and it's easiest to just get that kit working. But at the core, I really believe that this is something that the Miata community desperately needs. 5 years ago, barely anybody was making 400 wheel horsepower out of Miata engines, and now it seems like it's almost commonplace. And you've got guys taking it to 10 levels higher. You got Matman with a 1.6 liter generating over 500 wheel horsepower, RIP, and you have guys like Derek Rockwell with his BP making over 700 wheel horsepower. And back in the day, and even today, the RX-7 Turbo 2 transmission has been a good solution. But the problem is those transmissions are getting harder to find, and you're talking about $800 to $1,000 for a 30-year-old gearbox. This BMW transmission swap, although it might be a little bit more expensive up front, the main part that you're going to break and wear out is the cheapest part, and that's what I love about this kit. I think the base kit is right around $2,700, but the Getrag 260s can be had for $150 to $300. So the part that you're going to break is the cheapest. I mean, that's cheaper than a Miata 5-speed, so you can't really beat that. It's the same principle with the V8 Roadster's differential swap kit, which I have right here that I'm getting ready to do very soon. Yes, you're paying $1,500 to $1,700 for the base kit, but that differential right there that came out of a 3,800 pound car that makes 550 horsepower that I'm probably never going to break, I paid $200 shipped to my door for that thing. So I can legit buy 3 of those differentials for the price of a Miata Torsen swap, and it's way stronger. So that's what I love about this kit, and I really just want it to work. So after the tons of hours and work and money that I've put into this car trying to figure out the problem, many times I've wanted to say, you know what, just rip this kit out. I'm just going to go with something else that works. What else is there that has more pros and less cons than a $2,700 kit that can handle 500, 600, 700 horsepower, and the transmissions themselves are $200 to $400 for the cheaper one, and you know the ZFs are a little bit more expensive, $300 to $500, $300 to $600, still cheaper than Miata 6-speeds, and the transmissions are bulletproof. I can't think of a better concept, which is why I want to work so hard to just make this happen. So for the people that are genuinely interested in the troubleshooting process that I've gone through with my car since the very beginning, the very first install of this kit, let's go back to September 2018 when I first put it in. Initially, upon install, the vibration was so bad that I figured the drive shaft may have been damaged in shipping. But Miata had a couple other suggestions that I could try first before replacing the drive shaft. First thing was to check the driveline angles. Since you set that up yourself with the install of this kit, I was at 1.5 and 2.3 degrees, which are well within spec to have no vibration with a U-joint style shaft. The next thing they said was the adapter may not have been machined right and they had a bad batch, so they sent a new one out and I tried it and it didn't do anything. The next thing they said is the machine they were using to balance the adapters was not balancing them fine enough, so they sent me yet another new adapter to try out. And next after that, the adapter possibly not being machined flat. So I measured mine out, everything came out fine, but they sent me a new one just to eliminate that as a possibility. The next thing we tried was a steel adapter instead of aluminum, thinking that it might absorb the vibration better, or it might just be possibly easier to machine a steel adapter a little bit more precise than aluminum. Next, we tried to change the transmission output flange, thinking that maybe one was damaged or something was up with that. We tried 2 different styles, both the regular Getrag style and the ZF, the larger ZF flange, which actually fits into the Getrag. Then I was finally able to swap out the drive shaft, and I then learned that even though I was suspecting my drive shaft was damaged, that was not the case. Then I measured the run out on the shaft at multiple different areas, which did appear to be an issue originally. So the shaft and the adapter, I clocked them every different way possible until the run out at every point I could measure was minimized and became well within the recommended specs to not be a vibration issue. I also took each drive shaft that I installed to a shop to be checked for balance and straightness. Each one was fine, but it gave me a little peace of mind. I got a 3rd drive shaft from Miata, had it checked for balance and straightness, everything came out fine, but the problem persisted. I then had a local shop make me a new drive shaft, a replica of the Miata unit, thinking that maybe Miata's supplier had an issue with their shaft, but that again did not change or fix the problem. At this point, I really wanted to try using an OEM BMW Guibo or Flex Disc instead of the solid aluminum adapter that came with the Miata kit. So I had that same shop build yet another custom drive shaft for me. The problem is that the differential in the Miata is lower than the transmission, which forced the Flex Disc to work at a 2.5-degree operating angle. I knew this wouldn't work to begin with because flex discs need as close to a 0-degree operating angle as possible, but the shop misunderstood what I wanted. I wanted it built like this, with the U-joint after the flex disc to compensate for the operating angle, but before it was ever actually fabricated, I quickly realized that this would not work because the flex of the rubber flex disc would allow the centripetal force of the U-joint to get it like all out of alignment and crazy and cause, you know, probably the worst vibration possible. Now, I'll get back to this whole idea in a minute. So at this point, thinking that I had tried everything, I began to look into other rotating parts in the car. Even though none of those parts had caused a problem before the transmission swap, I figured maybe I'm just not smart enough to figure out why these things cause an issue now when they weren't causing an issue before. So a very common assumption is that it would be a problem with the engine. You know, it's got a new clutch and flywheel on it with this kit, so maybe it's a balance issue there. But I eliminated that problem very quickly, and that's easy to do. If the vibration is not engine RPM dependent, then it cannot be a clutch or flywheel issue. So if you are going through the gears and okay, you're in second gear and you're doing a pull and the vibration gets real bad, and then you go into third and it goes away, and then it gets worse and worse and worse, you go into fourth and it goes away. That's an engine related issue, or you know, something to do with that engine RPM. But I eliminated this 100% by doing a pull to 100 miles per hour, putting the shifter in neutral, turning the engine off, and noting that the vibration that was in the car did not change at all, and it just kind of slowly lessened as the vehicle speed came down. So I knew it was something related to the rest of the driveline, somewhere between the output half of the transmission and the rear wheels. Another thing to understand when you're troubleshooting vibration like this is different parts of the driveline spin at different RPMs. The output half of the transmission and the drive shaft and the pinion on the differential spin at about 4,000 RPM at 65 miles per hour with my setup. The output flanges on the differential, the axles, the brakes, the wheels and tires, those are all spinning at approximately 1,000 RPM due to the reduction of the differential. So by feeling and hearing the frequency of the vibration, you can kind of deduce if it's a higher speed or lower speed vibration. Like if it's a tire balance issue, it's a lot more like a lower bassy drone because the tire is only spinning 1,000 RPM on the freeway versus more of a buzzing vibration where it could be the drive shaft that's spinning 4,000 RPM on the freeway. But I never like to assume, so I swapped the wheels front to rear, then I had them balanced, then I changed the wheel bearings, then I replaced the axles, and I even installed an entirely different differential over the next couple months, all with extensive test drives in between each change to note any difference with the vibration. So next I mounted cameras underneath the car, and I also brought it to a local dyno shop where I could film underneath the car, spinning it up to 100 miles per hour. And let me just show you a little clip of what I found. Aha! I said to myself, and at that point in my head, I knew that the vibration was in the drive shaft. And I thought that the play in the slip yoke, which I discussed in the last video, this is a slip yoke here. It allows the drive shaft to be different lengths, and there's a little bit of play in these splines that allow the shaft to get a little tiny bit out of shape. And I thought at that point that the splines were allowing a little bit of play, which then let the drive shaft do kind of a jump rope type motion. Obviously that's exaggerated, but at the kind of speeds that a Miata drive shaft spins, that could be the source of a pretty serious vibration. So I kept putting the pressure on Miata to get me a CV style drive shaft like the one I installed in yesterday's video. And it took a while to get that, but I was so sure that it was the problem, and so were they, based on the research that I had done, that they took the time to R&D and test and have developed this CV drive shaft, to which they sent me the first example of it, and they're like, here, put this in your car, let us know what happens. So I installed that drive shaft in my head, knowing that this was going to be the end of all the problems, till it wasn't. I took it for a drive, and nothing was different. So that was just a few weeks ago, and obviously I was pretty devastated, thinking that at that point we had tried everything, and this kit, at least in my car, is just not gonna work. So I reached out to a shop that specializes in Miata transmissions, and I found out quickly that they also specialize in the E36, E46 ZF, and E30 Getrag transmissions. Now, before I continue with this little bit of information, some of you at home are probably thinking, sounds like the only thing you haven't changed yet is the transmission. Why wouldn't you just swap in another transmission and the problem might be fixed? But my thought process up until I had talked to this shop is that, okay, there are multiple different cars that are running multiple different transmissions and differentials in different combinations, the E30 Getrag, the E36 and E46, 5-speed and 6 speeds, the Miata diffs, the Getrag diffs, and some of them are having this problem and some of them are not. But one thing is in common with all of them, and they're all running the swap kit, but they're all different transmissions. So how could all these cars with different transmissions of varying makes and models and mileage, how could they all be having the same problem? There's no way it could be the transmission itself. So the bit of information that I got from reaching out to this shop that had not been presented or brought to light by anyone before, all the people that I have talked to that knew about this issue, is that the E36, E46 ZF gearboxes and the E30 Getrag gearboxes are both subject to premature bearing wear, which causes vibration. But why don't all BMWs vibrate? Well, all BMWs use a rubber flex disc, and the flex disc absorbs the vibration. What about the people that use those metal flex discs with the very stiff polyurethane inserts? Even the people that are running those typically still have an OEM style 2-piece drive shaft, which uses a rubber mounted center support bearing that acts as a secondary vibration absorption device. And even then, particularly the E36 and the E46, they're just generally sturdy and thick cars that are going to soak up a lot more noise, vibration, and harshness compared to our 2,100-pound tin cans. So now, knowing all of that, it seems as if the solution would just be to use a rebuilt gearbox with this kit. But there's a problem with that. There are companies that sell rebuilt Getrag gearboxes, and they are $2,200. So the cost of a rebuilt gearbox is as much as the entire swap kit, which completely defeats the purpose of it being a budget-friendly kit. So this is my plan going forward. I have in my car right now the original Getrag transmission that I put in to begin with. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swap in this blue beast right here that I picked up, and it's just another random Getrag with unknown history, but I picked it up for $150, okay? So how can you beat that? So I'm going to swap this transmission in and just note any changes in severity or the speed that the vibration comes on, just any changes at all. If that does not fix the problem, or if it remains the same, the next thing I'm going to do is swap over to a ZF 5-speed, which is a much newer transmission, and I'm going to be on the hunt for something with as low mileage as possible. I've already found a couple that are between 40 and 60,000 miles, so basically a fairly new gearbox, and I'm going to put that in my car to see if that fixes anything. And I kind of wanted to go to the ZF eventually anyways, now that I'm going to be altering the diff ratios, which is why I went with the GetDrag in the first place, but that's a story for another time. So let's say I get the ZF transmission in the car and the problem still persists. I think my last ditch effort here is going to be to have a shop fab up a center bearing support system and have a custom 2-piece drive shaft made that it will be set up like this. So it'll have the OEM BMW flex disc. The shaft then comes straight off the disc, so it has a 0-degree operating angle. It goes into the rubber-mounted center support bearing. Then it's got a U-joint. It goes down to the diff, another U-joint, into the diff, and I don't think there's any possible way that that could exhibit vibrations, because at that point it will legitimately be set up like an OEM BMW. So anyways, that is pretty much a full update on the Miata right now. I'm assuming anyone who actually made it this far in the video is genuinely interested in what's going on with the car, and thank you for watching that. And if you have any suggestions or comments, make sure you drop them down below. And even though this situation is pretty crappy, I hope that it presents some motivation to people out there who are doing a build where they are running into things that were unforeseen, and see that I am planning on staying 100% motivated on this car, and I'm not gonna stop until this Miata is the Miata that I know it can be, and it is going to be the perfect Miata in my opinion. I know there are a lot of people out there that seem to just throw together their dream builds and not have any issues, particularly on YouTube, where people can choose to only upload the good things and only upload the things that look easy, and they can choose, not everyone does it, but they can choose not to upload the struggles and the hard parts of their build, and it kind of gives you this perception that it's so easy to put together a build. And for some people it is easy. They buy their dream car, they throw a pair of turbos on it, a big fuel system, and they got 700-800 wheel horsepower. It's like, wow, that seems so easy, and I can't even build my own thing, you know, whether it's a Supra, STI, Mustang, Evo, whatever kind of car is your thing, there's gonna be someone out there that seems like they just threw their car together and it was like ultimate dream build. And just know that if you're taking on a full build, you are going to hit barriers, you're gonna hit walls, and you're gonna have to find a way to get over, around, under, or through those walls if you plan on achieving your goals. So anyways, I hope you guys stay motivated out there. I will continue to update you on everything that's going on with the car. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit a like if you learned something, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Peace out.